This is Gemara Pesachim Daf Kof Yod Aleph. Tonight's shir should be a schos refuah shlema from many of them. Vego Chayman Sar Shlomo Sivir Zeidel Sar Baskin Endel. Ita Basian Bas Chaysar Yisel Bemidel is the president Shavalei Shom Bas Nambi Bashavigo Shir Chanafal Domini to Riva Shmo Ben Tilo. To know Chan Rezel Mulchay Basmin LeBrachos Tavi Musa Adina Idol Bashina Mindel. Yosoy Shar Choyle Yisrael. We pick it up from the very bottom of Kof Yod Amud Beis, as we're continuing the discussion of Zugais, this fascinating concept of having pairs, that anything you have in pairs could potentially be harmful. We yesterday saw on Kof Yod Amud Beis that if you're not so careful about it, it's less harmful. It's one of those things that if you believe in it, it hurts you. If you don't believe in it, then it's much better. And we pointed out yesterday multiple times, the thesis in Yuma Tafayin Zayin Amud Beis that says Bizman Hazeh, it's not something that we have to be concerned with. Says the Gemara in the last line, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Kol Hamazog Mitzarif. Any mixed liquids, as Rashi says over here, like wine, mixed wine, you mix with something else, then it's yes mitzaref, and therefore you have to be careful about zugais as we move along to Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph Chutz Min Hamayim. Aside for water does not combine, and you don't have to be worried. Rav Yochanan Amar Afilu Mayim, even water you have to be careful that it can combine and potentially cause zugais. Amar Papa Le'amar, and don't be, says Rav Papa, what does it mean water combines? El chamimi the guy kriri v'gri the guy chamimi. If you put cold into hot into cold. Then he said, if you put cold into cold or hot into hot, then it is not an issue and it's not considered a mixed item. Says the Gemara, Amar Reish Lakish, 4 lines from the top. We just finished Zugais, now we go into other areas of Agadata. Says Reish Lakish, 4 items, 4 practices, if you perform them, they're fatal practices. Says the Gemara, what are the 4? Number 1, and you're chayiv death. Number 1, if someone uses the bathroom between the palm tree and the wall, and these are going to be items because there are shadim, there are these evil demon creatures that hang out in these places. So if you use the bathroom between the palm tree and the wall, number 1. Number 2, you walk between 2 palm trees, you drink borrowed water, you walk over spilled water. And says the Gemara, what does this mean, spilled water? Even if your wife spilled it, you still cannot walk over it. If your wife spilled it in front of you. Now the Gemara is going to go through each of these 4 items and elaborate them on a bit. Says the Gemara, first white line, someone uses the bathroom, relieves himself between the wall and the palm tree, le'amar is not an issue. Allah, the Leslie Arba Amos is not 4 Amos, about 6 to 8 feet between the palm tree and the wall. Obviously, for the reason, because then you're not going to be so close necessarily to the shade, to the demon. And even when you don't have these 4 Amos, it's not a problem. There's not another road between, again, this palm tree and the wall. If there's another way to go, you don't have to be worried, because you can see the demon went the other way. That was case number 1, that's Damai Baraisha, it could be fatal. Case number 2, I've been Shnei to call him. You walk between 2 palm trees, is only discussing when the Rosh Hashanah does not walk through these 2 trees. If Rosh Hashanah, the public thoroughfare, walks between the 2 trees, then it's not something you have to be worried about. That was number 2. Number 3, someone who drinks borrowed waters. That a katan, a minor, borrowed the water. That's when we have to have this concern. The demons, the shadim used to hang out by the kids. But by an adult is nothing to be concerned with. And even a child, if it's in the field where the shadim hung out, where the water is not as common, and that's where the shadim were more going to be hanging by this borrowed water. So much water, there's no worry about the shadim. The shadim do not hang out with beer and wine. And the final and 4th case, which we said was if you walk over spilled water. That's only if you didn't put some dirt on top of it, or you didn't put some spit on top of it. If there's some dirt on top of the spilled water, or if there's some spit on top of it, then then there is no concern with the walking over such waters. And furthermore, we qualify if the sun did not pass over the water. Nor than 60 steps pass over the water. The sun passed over. 60 steps passed over. Less lamba. Then there is no concern. We further qualify. It's only referring to if you're not riding a donkey, you're not wearing shoes. Again, we're still discussing walking over the spilled water. So we already saw if you put dirt, if you spit on it, if the sun passes by, 60 steps pass by, you don't have to worry about the spilled water. Now the Gemara qualifies further that you're walking by foot barefoot, but if you're wearing shoes or you're riding on a donkey, it's not a problem. Says the Gemara, there's only there's only in a place that we're not worried about kshafim, about sorcery. But in a place, even if you have all these things, you're on the donkey and you're wearing shoes, there's dirt, the spit, still we are concerned. And what's the story? Like that story with the person, the Rachav Chamra, he's riding a donkey, and he's wearing shoes. And what happened? His shoes shrank, and his feet shriveled up. Again, so we're seeing that it's only an issue in a place where we're not concerned about kishif, a place that we're concerned about this kishif black magic, then it is a problem. Says the Gemara, moving right along, Tanu Rabbanan Shleisha in Mimatzin. There are three that one should not go in between, meaning these items, as we're going to see, do not pass between these items. V'loi mitmatzin, and nor should you pass between them. What are we referring to? A kelev, a dog, a dekel, a palm tree, isha, and a woman. Obviously, this is a pretty known one. Two women, you should not walk in between, nor should two women walk in between a man. A pig, a snake. Let's say you have to. Let's say you're sitting there and you have to pass between two women, for example. What should you do? Niftach bekel v'nifsek bekel. You should read a pasuk that starts with kel and ends with kel. Inami niftach b'loy v'nifsek b'loy, or start with loy and ends with loy. And the Rashbam over here quotes the psukim. Where the psukim, the Rashbam quotes psukim in Ba'amidbar Chav Gimel Chav Beis Chav Gimel. The Rashbam over here, the Maskal. Where is the Rashbam? Says Rashbam, Divrei Masel Niftach Bekel v'Nisayim Bekel El Mitzim Mitzayim, and it concludes Mapa El Kel. And the other cases Lo Ish Kel v'Kazev. These are the psukim that you're going to say if potentially you had to walk in such an area. Says the Gemara, Hanu Beitrei Dematzi. Two men, Lahu Isha Nida, who a woman who is a Nida walked through in the Chilas Nidasa. It's the beginning of her period. She has the power to kill one of the men. She makes a fight between them. What do you do? Again, again, difficult to understand exactly what these things mean, but different psukim you say when you're encountered with these situations. Says the Gemara, Anu Trinashi, the Yasi Parshas Darashim, two women that are sitting at a crossroad. One was on one side of the road, and one was on the other side of the road. And they're looking at each other. Two women on two opposite sides of the road, staring at each other. They're doing kishif. What should you do? You got to walk through. There's another road. Go there. If there's another person with you, hold on to him, and then walk by in such a scenario, holding on to someone else. Just say as follows: those are four names. What do you say? Miskatla Becheik Kibel. You say that these four names have been slain with a crossbow. Again, a way to be saved from whatever this kisha that potentially could come and damage you. And this is the halach. If anyone ever has to walk between two women, she either hold on to someone else. You can't hold someone else. They say to hold your tzitzis, hold a sefer, hold on to something before you walk through, and that is not considered that you are holding yourself. Rather, you're with another entity. Says the Gemara, about 10 lines on the bottom. First word on the line is bechek. Hi, man. This person, you bump into a woman when she comes out of the mikvah. If he goes and has tashmish first, then what happens is the evil spirit, a ruach zinayim, that enters into him. If she goes and sleeps first, she has tashmish first. She gets this evil spirit. What do? You say the following pasuk: He pours scorn onto the nobles, and he makes them wander in a pathless wasteland. And of course, this is one of the reasons why when a woman comes out of the mikvah, the minhag is that she touches the mikvah lady so that she could be encountering a kosher woman the first thing, and therefore even if when she leaves the mikvah, she bumps into it, either a not kosher animal, the Shulchan Aruch speaks out, or like we're seeing over here, she potentially sees a different man. You wouldn't have this issue of the spirit entering into you because she already bumped into and had the first encounter to a kosher woman. Amar Rav Yitzchak, what is the meaning of the pasuk? Gam ki elech, a very famous pasuk. Begin Salmavis. Also, although I walk in the valley shadowed with death, Salmavis la'ira ra. I do not fear ki ata imadi, because Hashem is with me. What does this refer to? Zehayashin b'tzel dekel is referring to someone who sleeps in the shade of a dekel of a palm tree, yechidi, a singular palm tree, ubetzel levana, or in the shade of the moon. These are places where there are no shadim, and that's why he does not have to be afraid. This is a pasuk that was made famous by 9/11, that we can't fear. We have to move on with our life, but of course we have to always fear in Hashem. Says the Gemara, Betzel Dekel Yechidi, and says the Gemara with regard to the shade of a single palm tree, when do we say it's not an issue? Nafel Tula Dechavre. If the shade of the other palm tree didn't fall on it, on it, then it is not an issue. I'm sorry, I think I said that backwards. That it's an issue to sleep in the shade of a singular palm tree. That's what the Gemara said a moment ago. But if there's another tree, then there is no issue. Tanya says the Gemara, it says if you sleep by a singular palm tree in the courtyard, or you sleep under the shade of the moon, what's the case? If there's not another tree that puts a shade on it, then even a field, why does it say specifically a chatzar? That even in the chatzar, even if there's it puts its shadow, it still is an issue. So again, the issue is generally in the field, if you have one tree with another tree putting its shadow on it, in the courtyard, even if there's another tree, then even without another tree, even with the other tree, it's still going to be an issue. Ubetzila shel levaina, says the Gemara, sleeping in the shade of the levaina, the moon, la'amar el b'marav in the west, avo b'dincha in the east, less lanba, then you don't have this issue. Moving along to Kof Yod Aleph Amud Beis. Hi man, this person, that what did he do? Demafni, he relieved himself, he went to the bathroom, Agirdra de Dikla, on the stump of a palm tree, Achada, ruach palga. He gets the spirit called palga, could enter into him again if he uses the bathroom on the stump of a date tree, of a palm tree. Vaiman dematzli reshe, someone who rests his head on the agira de dekla, on the stump of the palm tree. Achadale ruach sarada. The ruach sarada, again the name of the spirit was sarada, could enter into him. In the third case, Vaiman de pasa dekla, the person that walks over and steps over a palm tree, I mikdal. If the tree was cut down, then he's going to be killed. But if the tree is uprooted, then he'll be uprooted and he will die. Again, three terrible situations, believing, walking over, and leaning on these palm trees. Says the Gemara, this is only if while you walk over it, you didn't put your foot and rested on the tree of less lanba, then you don't have to be worried. Says the Gemara, moving right along, 7 lines from the top. Now we're going to go into other areas of shadim and evil spirits. Chamisha tuli ave. There are 5 shades. When it's got not shade as in a shadim, as shade as in the shade from a tree, 5 different areas of shade, and this is where the shadim hang out. Tula de dikla yechida, the shade of a singular palm tree, like we saw in Amud Aleph. Tula de kanda, the shade of a kanda tree. Tula de parcha, the shade of a caber bush. Tula de zardarta, the shade of a sorba tree. Iga de amida, those that say have tula de arba, even the shade of a boat. Tula de arvasa, the shade of the arava, the willow. Klal of the mill. So what's the general rule? Called anafish, if it has a lot of branches, kashe Tule, its shade is harmful. Called the kashe silve. If its branches are a lot, called the kashe silve. If the wood is harmful, then kashe tulie, then the shade is as well going to be harmful. Says the Gemara, levar, except mochru mikru misha, a certain type of tree, a service tree, aval gav the kashe siluye, even though the wood is not good, like kashe tule, still the shade is not harmful. The amri la shida lebra, that we heard the shade telling its son, pircha nafshach, fly away from where Mechru Masah, from this tree called the Mechru Mishah, because this tree, this was a shade talking to her son, the tree killed your father, and killed him, referring to the son. You have to be very careful. Amar Rav Ashi, Chazina Rav Kana, Aizor Rav Kana, the Barsh Mekule, that he, Kule, Tule, he would stay away from all shades. You never know which shade has shadim in it. He wouldn't stay by any shadim. Says the Gemara, Bay, Parchi, first white line. Bei Parchi Ruchi. The demons, the shadim that are by the Kibra bush, Devei Zarda. Devei Zarda Sheda. They are, one more time. Bei Parchi, the ones that live by the Kibra bush, Ruchi. Their name is Ruchi. Devei Zarda, Zardida, the one that's hang out by the sorb trees, Sheda. It's called the Sheda. Devei Egri, and the ones that hang out by the rooftops, Rishvi. They're called Rishvi. Now you know the names of the demons. Might have Kamina, who cares? Like Kamia, if you have to write an amulet, you gotta know the name of the shade to write on the amulet. Devei Parchi. So the shadim by the Keber bush, does not have any eyes. The mind of Kamino, who cares? Legazuze law, that you can run away from it if you know it doesn't have eyes. Now we hear fascinating stories in the Chadei also from the Rabbanan. There was a young Talmud scholar, he went to use the bathroom on a Keber bush. Shama, he heard the shade was coming to jump onto him, but he knew that it had no eyes. Vigaza law, so he started running away. When the shade ran, what happened? This demon grabbed hold of the palm tree. Savach dikla upakahi. The palm tree shoveled up, and the shade, the demon, burst open. So again, that's why you have to know it's blind, so you can know you could try to run away. Paracha, or some gears take out the word. Devei zardita, when you refer to the sorb tree, what's it called? Shady. Ha zardita desmichel amasa. It's near the city. There's no less than 60 shadim that hang out by this sorb tree. So you can write an amulet. You have to know how many shadim are there to know how to write an amulet. The Gemara now is going to tell us a story about that. There was a certain city watchman, the masa of the town. It went by a sorb tree that was near the town. Again, we just learned sorb trees near the town have 60 shadim. This town watchman went near a sorb tree. Alu Beishitin Shadim, 60 Shadim entered into his body, Vistakin, and he was about to die. Also, one of the Rabbanim came to he didn't know that the sorb tree had 60 demons. So what did this Rav do? He wrote a Kamiyah, an amulet, to save this town watchman, but only for one shade. Shama, they heard the Talu Chinga B'Gavei. He heard that the shade hung up, the Chinga, some sort of an instrument in the tree. They heard the shade in the tree playing some sort of instrument, become a sharu, and the shade was singing Hachi as follows: Sudri Damar Kisumri Rabbanan. The Sudr of this young Talmud Chacham, Badigna Bei Bemar, is examined by the master. We know this Talmud Chacham doesn't even know how to say a baracha. Meaning it didn't work. The Shadim are still living there. A different Rav came. The other Desert Tashit and Shady. This other Rav knew that there were 60 potential Shadim living in the sorb tree. So he wrote an amulet for 60 Shadim, Shama, and then he heard Ka'amru that they said, Panu minaychu. They heard the Shadim saying, get rid of your utensils, mehacha, let's clean up shop, meaning they were destroyed. So that's the reason why you have to know how many Shadim there are to write the appropriate amulet. Says the Gemara, moving along to different types of demons, Ketem Mirari. There were a demon, a shade, that's name was Ketem Mirari. Says the Gemara, Tre Kitbi Have. There were two Ketev demons, Chan Makmi Ta'ara. One comes out before noontime, one after noontime. The shade that's before noontime, Its name is Katamari, Umechse Be'ekada de Kimcha. And what does it look like? It looks like a jug of Kimcha. And what does it have? A Hadar Be'bichsha, and has a whirling mixing spoon. The Basar Tiara, the shade that's in the afternoon, Katav Yishud Sarayim Shemai. His name is not just Katamari, rather Katav Yishud Sarayim. Umechse, and it appears Be'karna De'izi in the horns of a goat, the hadar beikanfe, with a whirling sieve like a sifter. These are the two types of shadim ketamiri, morning and afternoon. Says the Gemara, a story with Abaye. Abaye have a shakal v'azal. Abaye was going v'azal Rababa, Yemine Rababa was on his right, Rav Huna Radio Yeshua Mismali, and Rav Huna Radio Yeshua was on Abaye's left. Chazelu ketamiri, they saw this demon called ketamiri. Tkasilape the smala was entering the left side. Rav Huna Radio Yeshua. Ahadri Rababa Mismali. So Abaye told Rababa, you go to my left, or the radio of Yeshua Lemina, you go to the right. Hamerly Rababa. Rababa says, you're trying to kill me? I know my Shadad cautiously. Abai, why do you care about me? You're putting me on the left where the Shadim are coming. It's your time. You're having an auspicious moment right now. And the Rashbam speaks out that you're wealthy and you're blessed with a good fortune, and therefore the demon, we don't have to worry, he's going to harm you. Says the Gemara more about this Ketev Miriri Mechad v'Tammuz al Shitzar Bey, from the 1st of Tammuz until the 16th of Tammuz Vade Shchichi. It's very common. This demon is whirling around. Mikan ve'elach Savik Shchichi, Savik lo Shchichi. We're not sure. Umishtachi betuli de Chitzpah, but where can you always find it? In the shadow of the Chitzpah tree that what the Lechativ Garmida that did not grow one amma. I'm sorry. Ubetule de Zavra, and the shadows in the morning. Upanya in the evening, to have a garmida, the shadows that did not grow and am along the ikar betuli de beiskisi, and the main place where this shade hung out was the bathroom. Amar Rav Yosef, Ani Tlas Mili, these three things, Yohiv, these three things cause blindness instead of giving someone sight. Now we're moving along to different things that could harm a person. Says the Gemara, Mandesar Greshe Yavesh, someone who combs his hair when it's dry. Number one, Mandeshasi Tif Tif, someone who drinks from the barrel as it drips. And number three, Mandesayim Masni Adamasaine Kara, someone who puts on shoes while his feet are wet. And that one, the Mefarshim here speak out, many people do. So it's not something we have to worry about it. Says the Gemara, now that were things that harmed you. Now we move on to things that make you poor. Tale Bebe say, if bread is hanging in your house, Kashlanias, it's cause of poverty. Kidamri inches, people say, Tala Silta, hang your basket, Tala Mizaine, your sustenance is hung. Valaya Amaran El Rift, only with regard to bread, Avil Bisra Vikavri, fish and meat, less lamba, it's no problem hanging them up, because Orcheyu, the hanging salami, that is the normal way to do it, and therefore it's something you have to be concerned with. Let's conclude that Pari Bebeise, if someone has bran in his house, Kashlanias brings to poverty. Nishura Bebeise, if he has bread scraps in his house, Kashlanisa, it brings to poverty as well. But Leili Shabbos of Leili Revi'is, on the nights of Shabbos and nights of Wednesdays, meaning Friday and Tuesday nights, that's when there are these demons, Sharu Mazikin Aluyeh, the Mazikin are hanging out. Isra de Mizaine Nakid Shmei, the Isra, the demon of Mizaina, of sustenance, is called Nakid. Isra the demon of poverty is Novel, Shmei is called Novel. So, Apuma de Chatzva, a plate placed over the opening of the barrel, Kashlanias brings to poverty. Mandeshasi Maya, someone who drinks water. Mandeshasi Maya, Pitzae, from the plate, Kashalibrook say, it causes some sort of eye disease. The Archal, Tichla, Veloimashi Yadeh, someone who eats cress, something we've seen back in the Gemara Brachas, doesn't wash his hands. Mavched, he's going to be afraid. Tlas and Yamin, he's going to be afraid of anguishes for 30 days. And let's wrap it up, moving on to Kuf Yud Beis. Temisukar, Veloimashi Yadeh, if someone gives off blood and doesn't wash his hands, Mefachet Shiva Yomim, he's going to be afraid for 7 days. We'll start from here as the Gemara is going to continue different practices. You have to make sure to wash your hands. We'll pick it up from here tomorrow.